a suit or set. This is a dress. It's got a little lace collar. That would have been perhaps from the past, when she would have, when they would have had lace on many of their dresses as trim. And then you've got the dropped waist, and that was very much part of the 30s scheme. The 20s were also into that style, more or less sort of shift dresses, very little shape on them. The shape is coming back here. You've got the little tiny sleeve, you've got the nice line that comes through showing the bust into the waistline, and then you've got the matching accessories like the bag, the gloves and the hat. You would not go out without your gloves or your hat or your bags, and then the shoes complement as well. She puts a nice string of pearls around the choker as a neck piece, and the makeup and the hair suit as well. So we can see how beautiful this looks. It's also not practical, but it's very, very smart. So she's going to meet her beau somewhere for a nice cocktail, perhaps in one of the big fancy hotels in London. So this is Gillian, and you'll be seeing more of Gillian later on. Thank you, Gillian. So she's got her little straw hat on. She may have decorated it herself with a little matching scarf. And then she's got comfortable shoes, the gloves, don't go without your gloves, and the good old pearls. Everybody wore pearls. Couldn't manage without your pearls, could you? And they go right the way through to the 1940s. Still worn today, of course, at certain times. So she's going to take a little stroll up. Do get a look at the way the dress is created, the buttons down the front, and again that lace. Lace was very, very popular during that period, and it did continue through to the 1940s, as we shall see. So she's going to make a little stroll. People can take photographs if they wish, we don't charge, and it's all for free. The whole show here is free. We do like to mention our Barry War Museum, though, which is in the corner near the cafe. We're all volunteers there. It's open every Wednesday from 2 till 4, and we don't charge anyone. It's a free exhibition or a free museum. There's a nice First World War trench in there, a Second World War kitchen, and there's someone in there, one of our colleagues in there can tell you all about the museum. But back to Louise. That looks absolutely fabulous. I like the little bow at the back of the hat. So anybody walking behind her, they get a bit of interest as well. So thank you very much, Louise. So let's see what the next young lady, the 20s influence of the drop waistline and the bow to accentuate it, the good old pearls, but instead of wearing a hat, she's found by wearing just a nice scarf around the head and letting it droop behind. It looks very, very smart. So she's got a little bag that goes with the gloves, and if you make a little stroll, this is Claire. And again, the hair nice and loose, as they had it. It was a sort of style then. A lot of the artists at that point, they were painting these exotic women with all this flowing, sort of gorgeous Titian hair. So she's got the Titian hair to go with it today, so it's looking absolutely fabulous. I love the drop waistline, and of course if you wanted to make it different, you could hike it up, you'd have it as blouson, and you could tie the belt underneath it, and you'd have a different style of dress. Lovely colour, the turquoise that goes with the headband as well, and the black, good old black shoes, the standby for all women, aren't they? So we've all got the good old black shoes, and the little bar across, very comfortable if you're walking about. So thank you, that's fantastic. Thank you, Claire. It's a little bit, you haven't got the drop waist, you've got the waistband where it should be, you've got a button front, so very fond of a little bit of sort of pleating and button in the front is there, and the hat, the lovely pink hat that goes with it, and the little green bag, the shoes, and the shoes that obviously match, and then the gloves. So if you'd like to take a little stroll or come up here first, Rose, so we can have a little look at you. Again, the button feature. If you were having to make a plain dress, and many of these women did make their own costumes, so you know they wouldn't have been going out to the shops and buying like we do today. Bit of a throwaway society, aren't we? You buy, you get rid of it, and you buy something fresh the next day. Go down to Primark or something, and you know you can find something to take on your holiday. But in those days, it had to make, you know, it had to last. You couldn't just sort of put it on and then dump it the following week. So she's got a little sort of piece here, and you're starting to get the padding, a little bit of padding in the shoulder to give it a slightly square look, a slightly sort of boxer look. And then the little elasticated waist for comfort, but the pretty sleeves, you can see, the buttons on there, which also match the buttons on the front. So it's a comfortable dress, it's a day dress. She could have perhaps ponced it up or put a stole around it, and that would have been a nice idea. Then she could have worn it in the evenings. So if you want to take a stroll up and let the people at that end see. So do take photographs if you've just joined us. This is a fashion show, oops, easy. This is a fashion show all about the 20s, the 30s, 40s and the 50s. As you can see, the 40s. And they made it look 40s by their hats. They were going to make the world notice them. The cinched in waist, the fuller skirt, the gloves, the pizzazz that they actually had. So if you like to come up on here, we still got lots of buttons. It's a well-buttoned piece, and that is fantastic. But look what she's done with the way these sleeves are fitted in there. They're not flat. She hasn't got the square look. She's got a slightly raised look here. Still got a little bit of padding in there, but then you've got that wonderful sort of arched sleeve there. Nice length, the gloves, and it all accentuates the whole thing. And that wonderful material in that gorgeous squares and patterns of different colours. She could then put all sorts of different colours of accessory with it. The lovely saucer hat. So if you take a little walk, so everyone can have a little look. The hair, they would have these big bangs and of course loose. Feminine. Femininity was the word of the day in the 1940s. They were having to work. The men had gone to war, so they were doing a lot of jobs that the men normally did. Bus conducting, etc. Some of them learning to drive buses, going down on the farm and learning to drive tractors. But in the evenings, or when they could, they would look like this. So absolutely superb. Thank you, Gillian. Or someone to escort her, because when it was blackout, of course, there were no lights anywhere, and it could be a bit dangerous and a bit inhibiting. So if you had a friend or a gentleman who could escort you from A to B, that would be very nice as well. Louise is wearing a straight skirt with a little split at the back for comfort, the good old shoes with the bar again, and a nice comfortable silk blouse. Now she could take the cord off or the belt off if she wanted to, and then it would just hang loose, and maybe with... So you can see all the costumes behind you as well as they make their way back up again, and then he'll say goodbye to Louise. And the costumes are hanging up on the rails here from the 1970s and the 1980s. So it gives you an idea of how they evolved through from have come back in fact, the little black number here, that is a handkerchief, hanky hemline, and they've come back into fashion, and that is from the 1970s. So, thank you Louise, absolutely stunning. I love the hat with the feathers there. And can you see the gloves are in velvet and the little hat is like a velvet as well. Thank you very much. She might be very able to speak lots of different languages. So she's got that same saucer hat on again. A very, very smart, slightly severe, but very, very beautifully cut, lined, slightly longer sleeves. The little gathered piece going into the shoulder part there. A scoop neckline, the bag, very classic, black leather, and also the gloves and the shoes to match. Now she's gone away from the T-bar, and she's now got a very comfortable pair of casual or court shoes, as we called them back in those days. So if you wanted to make a walk, this show, it's a beautiful line at the back, so it actually fits in again, it's accentuating the waist. And then the skirt doesn't have the split at the back that Louise's had, whereas perhaps Louise, who was maybe doing office work, would have needed to sit down. But certainly Claire may be going for an interview, but she would need to pick up her escort. And I think somewhere lurking that we have got an American soldier. Ooh. So, and I think if Major Glenn comes forward, oh, he's gone up to Colonel again. He keeps changing from one fashion show to the other. 1 minute he's a Major, now he's a Colonel. But there we are. So the Americans were here in Barry, as I'm sure you know. They were here in 1942, 1943, before they went to D-Day. And then they would have got to know the local ladies, and many of the local ladies from Barry did actually marry some of the GIs. So these ladies were well looked after. They always made sure that they were escorted well. So if we do another little escort. And dear me, as his escort leaves, as Barry or Colonel Barry leaves his lady friend, I can see someone lurking in the corner there. Oh dear, what's he doing? I'm sorry, who are you, please?
Barry Trotter.
Oh, Barry Trotter. I wonder if he's related to...
This is my grandson Del.
Oh, okay. Oh, his grandson Del. Well, there we are. What did he have there? Pair of nylons. Oh, well, Keep him out, keep him out. Thank you very much, Claire. This looks absolutely stunning. So this is a lumberjill. Now, we've heard of lumberjacks, and perhaps some of you didn't know that in the Second World War, because all the men were in the forces, they'd gone away, that the women had to go and learn how to chop down trees. They were part of the Women's Land Army from the same group. So she would have been taught how to wield an axe, so don't argue with this lady. And she also would have worked out in the forest. We needed wood in the war. You needed wood. It was very, very essential. So Jackie's going to walk up and down and show you sort of what she was wearing. Sensible gum boots, as we called them in those days. She would have had thick socks in there so she didn't get corns on her feet. Sensible all-in-one, like a dungarees, and then a shirt. And so if the weather was nice and she really didn't need to have the rain part on, this is waterproof. So she could take that off, and then it could be used like for sitting on the ground with, like a ground sheet. And if we have a look now, we can see what she would have had underneath. How sensible is that? Great big capes, a bit like our sort of cape type materials we use today. And there she is with her dungarees and her headdress. Remember that there was no health and safety in those days, so she wouldn't have had any sort of tin helmet. So if she got it wrong when she was chopping that tree down, she could have had a few branches falling on her head. All they wore were berries. I'm sure they took the berries off when they were perhaps actually doing the duty. But a little bit about it. The date when you would have been performing, cutting from, when they, 1939, were they taken?
1939, the Women's Timber Corps were an offshoot of the Women's Land Army, and they wanted to be known as being separate, so they campaigned to get their own badge, so it's completely different to the Land Army.
Oh, excellent. So that's interesting, right. So originally, because the Land Army, they actually, well, I'll be telling you a little bit more about that later. So nice round of applause for Jackie. You'll be seeing her later. Now, if you imagine 20 years before, the women were in dresses down to their ankles, and suddenly in the 1940s, we have a young lady who can go to the beach, and she can wear short shorts, she can wear a lovely little spotty top, she can get the suntan on, and she's got a nice hat to keep the sun off her face, because the cosmetics then were very different to how they are today. Way, and it's victory, so it's the end of the war, which is wonderful. Sunglasses do the whole thing. She's taken a lovely pose there, so you can see these young ladies are used to modelling. And then Gillian is going to take a nice stroll and take photographs again as you like. So the comfort of the shorts, they're stretchy. The little top it can button through. She could put a swimming costume underneath if she chose, and then she could dip in and out of the sea. And then she's got the sun hat to protect the fairness of skin, because we don't get that much sun, do we? We have to all be careful of our facial skin. But that's a fantastic outfit. So can we have a round of applause for Gillian? I think that looks absolutely superb. And the shoes, those fabulous shoes that really sort of enhance not only the legs, but to make the whole outfit look fantastic. Thank you very much. If you went out without your gas mask, you could have one of those ARP men coming up and saying, "Where's your gas mask, miss?" So lovely, pretty blouse. It's crepe. So crepe hangs beautifully. It's a bit of a pain to iron, but it's absolutely beautiful. And again, she's got the little cuff sleeves there with the buttons. Very fond of the buttons for trim. The little bow enhances it, of course, and a wrap-round skirt, which would have been very comfortable, especially if she was sitting in an office, so she would feel comfortable, and the nice buttoned shoes again, and then the gas mask case. So she's going to go up, and she's going to perhaps find her escort, and have a little escort with Ian again. Just so Ian doesn't get doesn't get used to sitting down too much. So we will be talking about Ian's uniform and also some of the other men's uniform as well. So the skirt is made of wool, and it is a wrap round, so, you know, if she lost weight or put weight on, of course, with rationing, I wouldn't think she put any weight on at all. I was telling somebody the other day, I can remember rationing, going right up to sweets being on ration, coming off in 1954, going to a shop with a sixpence and buying a finger of fudge without having a ration book. And I was so excited. It was like winning the lottery today, just going up to that counter, slapping down my sixpence. And you can still buy fingers of fudge, but they're now 30p. So, so it's a nice thought. When I see them now, it reminds me of 1954. So thank you very much, Ian. Thank you. We Very nice. I think everyone's got their photographs. Thank you. So thank you very much. And perhaps go for tea somewhere, maybe tea at the Savoy. So she wants to look suitably smart. But then if she so chose, she could take off that little top and there would be a nice little blouson underneath. So that she was decent, shall we say. So she could take a little stroll. Sensible shoes with that nice height of heel. The trousers that fit very beautifully, trimmed into the waist again. The waist was all important in those days, that was the essential. The pretty little top, again with the cuff sleeves and the buttons. Buttons were so essential, and you would have special button shops. We used to have a special button shop, didn't we, in Cardiff, but unfortunately it's closed down now. It used to be in Castle Arcade, and they closed about 6 months ago. The hat, of course, keeping the sun off her face, and the sunglasses. The little tucked-in piece of the little grey vest that she's got underneath. You can have a little look at, yeah? So there we are. So if the sun got really hot, she could take off the little top. And again, she could dress this up for evenings. If she wanted to go to a cocktail, she could put a cocktail skirt on, and then she would be fit for all the cocktail evening as well. So that's absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Claire. So it's all Rose before in that 1930s outfit, but now she's come back. And what happened to the women was they didn't have a choice. If they didn't go in at 17, they would be sent to the RAF, the Air Force, the Army, or the Navy, or they would be sent to the Land Army. And then they would have to be working with the farmer, and they would have to be up at 5 in the morning. They would have to be planting food. They would have to be looking after the farm animals, learning how to drive tractors. And this made them very independent, of course, because they learned how to drive. So that came in useful after the war. So she's going to take a little stroll up there now, and I'll tell her about what she's got on. She's got a very sensible jersey with the insignia of the women's the women's Land Army, that's the word. Brains going into idiot mode here. The headscarf, keeping the hair out of the way. There would have been a hat. They had a very, very special hat. But for work, she would have taken the hat off and just put the scarf around her head. The badge, which indicates the Women's Land Army as well. Jonkers, which they perhaps got from the riding stables, that sort of thing. So that would have been very easy to move around in. They couldn't have worked in the skirt, so bending over, planting the things for row upon row to feed Britain. We were running out of food, rationing had come in. The merchant vessels were sinking, so we weren't getting the food from America or from the continent. And so we were having to dig for victory and grow our own. And this would have been a very, very important lady. Welly boots, big socks inside to keep the feet comfortable. So thank you very much, Rose. This is, again, Gillian in a beautiful silver number. I'm sure they took a lot of influence from the filming. And if we've got Major Colonel Glenn, is he around? He's going to escort her in a moment. So she will come up and join you. Oh, he's eager. God, he's so keen. Look, he can't wait to get there. So that's a nice view there, yeah, both of them there by the sentry box. So as Gillian walks up, this lovely silver, as I was saying, I think the film stars, I think these people were going along to the cinema, was influencing on what they wore. And this is a beautiful silver dress, little slit at the side, and the lovely cape. And can you see how it fastens with two little gold clips? And then so she could sort of change her jewellery, either silver or gold, if she was fortunate enough to have it. And then if we turn around and have a look at the back line and the front, up to the top here, but how it figure hugs. So these women were very much being influenced by Hollywood, I think, and how smart that looks. So he's going to escort her back the other way, down to the halt sign. To the halt sign. The jewellery, of course, would have been on as well. The gloves, long black gloves to enhance it all, and a little piece of feather piece in the hair. Thank you, that looks absolutely stunning. And again, as I say, I think the film has actually had a great influence. And if you look here, somewhere, knew we had one somewhere, sort of films that were being shown were being like Casablanca, The Third Man. This is bombing, actually, a photograph in Swansea, a church was bombed. The evacuees coming into Monmouth. Some of the Land Army girls down there. And this is PS Waverley, the Waverley, the ship that I think the paddle steamer that we still have coming in and out. Of course, the Americans, you could listen to the bands playing. Glenn Miller came over here, didn't he, with his band, and they're still going today. I saw them the other week and it was absolutely fantastic, so thank you very much. And then we have Louise, looking absolutely stunning in a pretty blouse. Can you see the little puff sleeves there? And that again comes into the cuff, gives it that lovely loose effect, all gathered into the cuff with the buttons again. But instead of having buttons down the front, it's just a crossover, and it comes through into a peplon. And if she just turns around and shows us the back view, can you see? There's a nice little peplon that sits nice and neatly over the skirt. So Louise is going to take a stroll up to the front there. And I'm afraid we're going to call upon poor old Ian again to escort Louise. Oh, let's have Ian again. We're giving him his exercise, so for the day. The hat, now isn't that cracking, a cracking hat? That can be used at any time. It's a real, known as a cocktail hat. Slits in, they don't have to hold it on with anything. It's got two little archways over it. It goes on, sits onto the head nice and comfortably, and just really does accentuates the whole outfit. A little bag as well to go with it. Not Ian. He's got a little bag, but it's not the same thing. It's the cocktail bag she's got with her gloves. You didn't ever go out without your gloves and your bag, did you? Or your hat. So thank you very much, Ian. I think you're being an absolute gem. So if you'd like to release your lady, thank you very much. Thank you, Louise. So I think that looks absolutely stunning. And she pulled her hair up. You may remember she had her hair loose for one or two of the other outfits she was wearing. We're going away from just the dress, but this could have been worn again, cocktail. And isn't that just extraordinary? I love it. The long gloves. She's got the pretty little necklace, which is a butterfly, which would have been very feminine. The drop earrings, which add to it, makes it classical, makes it also very much more for evening. And then the little hairpiece. And also it's known as a, forgotten what it's called. It's called a snooze. I think that's what I need. I'm running out of thought here. Yeah, so it's a snood. So there we are. So she's going to take a stroll and a walk. Woo. And sensible shoes, not too high. The stilettos didn't really come in until the 1960s, did they? I remember poodling along on my stilettos and getting them caught in a drain, and then the little heel bit would break off, and then you'd have to go and get it repaired. Little tiny bits on the bottom of the shoe. So if we have a little twizzle there, again you've got a nice bow at the back that pulls the waist in. It was all about waist. It's got a nice fit down, wide legs. They didn't have the narrow legged like we have in the jeans and the various trousers nowadays. They're more like tights in a way, some of the trousers, aren't they? It's comfort. It was about comfort, it was about style, and it was about looking glamorous. So it was a glamorous, stylish, comfortable outfit. Absolutely superb. So she's going to take another stroll back on her own, because we've been using up the men too much. I think Ian is about to collapse in a heap. And poor old Glenn over there is looking a bit not too sure what to do with himself. But today, Colonel Glenn, he's standing there waiting without him having anything to do. So. Right, so that looks very smart. You can see how much these GIs came in. They were very polite, they were very gentlemanly. Many of them, or several of them, actually married Welsh ladies, and then they would go and live in America. And Glenn, actually, seriously, he's our chairman of Barry War Museum, and he actually is in touch, or was in touch with quite a lot of the GIs and the old brides over in America, but so many of them, I think, are no longer with us. So thank you very much. That's a beautiful thing. Now moving into the 50s, and you're going to see the influence from the 40s by the young ladies who are wearing their outfits, and hopefully, yes, here we come, here's Louise, and she's wearing her 50s big, do you remember those bushy petticoats? Oh my goodness me, I can't believe I actually used to wear those to work, you know, it was what you wore, wasn't it, with that pretty skirt and the little flatties. You'd gone away with the heels and the straps, and they were flatties. And then you had the cinch belt, you had the elasticated belt. My goodness, that does bring back some memories. So Louise is going to take a little stroll up and down. And yeah, she's got the little top on her there to sort of keep warm. The hair's down, she's got a little flower in the hair, and a bunch at the back, a little scrunch at the back. I think the scrunch things that have come back in again. So there's nothing new under the sun, as they say. So she's going to take a little stroll down there, then she's going to... Hey, look at that. Yes, they loved to dance, didn't you? Back in the 50s, and that's when all your petticoats would swing out. So Louise is going to go and stand down there by the gentleman, and we're going to have the next lady coming out in her 50s outfit. And here's Gillian But this is a very, very different from the flouncy petticoats. Hers is more of a slinky number, isn't it? This is absolutely stunning. So Gillian, she's keeping the high heels, and they're coming into the stiletto look. The black bag, which is fantastic. The little lacy gloves, which are very cute. The Art Deco bracelet. Now, maybe her grandmother or her mother might have given her that, and it's coming back into the 50s as style. The dress is absolutely beautiful. She's got the slit at the back for ease of walking. She's got her hair nice and loose and sort of casual. And then the pretty little front, sweetheart neck, that was called, sweetheart neck, and buttons all the way down the front. But she's got the band around it there to again accentuate the waist. And it absolutely sets her figure off beautifully. And the shoes as well. And the fine little piece up in the hair there, just looking absolutely beautiful. Thank you very much. So she's going to wait with Louise. It's 50s. She's got the big petticoat underneath again. And what fantastic material. Remember, during the war, you'd have had a problem getting any sort of materials at all. You'd have had to make use of stuff that your mother had had, or you'd had before, or anything that had been passed down. Suddenly they were going out and buying these beautiful materials. And this one, it's got all these lovely sort of like poinsettias all over it. The white, she can match anything with it. She could have had gloves of this colour. She's got the red, which really highlights it and accentuates it. The pretty shoes, little peep toe shoes were coming in. They were something new as well during the 1950s. She looks as though she may be going down to the beach or down to some beach area. So if you perhaps go over to onto the island later on over here, up onto the grassy knoll, you might see people like Louise, like Claire wandering about. Sunglasses, and again that hair bow. But remember, that was really about the 40s, wasn't it? They were using that to tie their hair back when they were doing all the work. So she's going to take a stroll. I think that looks absolutely stunning. Again, the nice sort of neckline there. And to see, if you remember back how it was in the end of the First World War through to the 20s and the 30s, for severe and quite matronly in some instances. Suddenly in the 50s, youth exploded. Youth wanted to be seen and to be heard. So it was no longer, you know, quiet, you mustn't say anything, it's adults only. Absolutely stunning. So I'm going to ask them all to come back, and they're going to stand in a nice line-up, and I hope you'll sort of have enjoyed the show. Hope you give them a little bit of appreciation to say thank you very much. We're going to ask the military people to come in as well, if they'd like to make their way in. And if anyone wants to take a photograph, here's a nice opportunity for you now, because they're all coming in to join you. So thank you so much. I hope you say it's taught you a little bit about fashion. Again, behind us here on the rail behind you there, you've got the 70s and 80s fashions as well. So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
I'm writing you from somewhere in France. Hope English find you well. Sergeant says I'm doing fine, a soldier and a half. Here's a song that we'll all sing. It'll make you laugh. We're gonna have
so much. Okay, folks, that's it. You want me to sing that?
Yeah, there's a case at the end there. Got the footbridge. But if you go...
I remember well as the shadows fell, the light of and their eyes flicked October. Tomorrow the shepherd will tell you, just you wait and see.
And a lot of people thought, well, what use are these people? You know, they're old people, they're youngsters, some of them are all right. But a lot of those men, the older ones, they fought in the First World War. They had a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. They would have been invaluable. And had the invasion come, they would have created quite a resistance until the regular army came.
Thank you. Round of applause for Steve. And say he's in the traditional uniform, and it is a proper rifle.
Well, thanks to the enduring popularity of Dad's Army, which Steve has already mentioned, everybody recognises what I represent. In other words, an air raid precaution warden. Now, when the government realised that war was inevitable, they called for volunteers from among the community to enrol as wardens, because the fear was that with the new style of warfare, which involved aerial bombardment, that our cities would be bombed, and indeed they were. So to begin with, the volunteers, they just wore their own clothing, their own suits, they just had armbands, you know, a tin helmet and a gas mask. Then they were charged with patrolling the streets at night. If there was an air raid alert, they would inform the people in the neighbourhood where the shelter was to get to the shelter quickly. They'd obviously, when the blackout was initiated, they'd patrol the streets and look for chinks of light. And we all know the catchphrase. Sorry, we all know the catchphrase, put that light out. So that's what they did in their spare time, because they were volunteers. Gradually they were given a kind of a uniform, to begin with a sort of a coverall like I'm wearing now, with their own insignia, ARP. Helmets were marked according to your rank and function. And later in the war they were given a kind of a navy blue battle dress uniform, the same as the army uniform, but in dark navy blue. And then they became part of the civil defence. But they performed a very valuable role during the early years of the war. And we should be thankful for that, because they did save a lot of lives. And of course, if there was an air raid in a big city like Cardiff or London or Coventry or whatever, they would also be there to lend a hand with the rescue efforts as well. So there we are, that's their function.
Thank you, Rosemary. This is a genuine, original Ike jacket I'm wearing. You've all heard of Ike?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
he was the man. He was the Supreme Commander, Allied Expeditionary Force. He went on to be President of the United States. People used to say, "We like Ike." Anyway, we like Ike's jacket, or the Ike jacket, which is a cut-off, isn't it, of the full-length jacket. Anyway, on May the 16th, 1944, 5,000 Americans arrived on the outskirts of Barry. Men of the 2nd Infantry Division. On the Port Road at Bryn Hill, and where we have the crematorium nowadays. 5,000 have arrived in one day. It must have been quite a sight. It must have been quite something for these people to arrive in our neighbourhood. They weren't here on vacation. Now, I've got a map here, and this map is from the 1930s, and it says Map of England and Wales. Now, many Americans didn't know where they were. You've heard the phrase over here. More appropriate for many Americans would have been over where? Because they arrived in this country and they didn't really know where they were. What I mean is they very often thought they were in England. An American came to Wales and said, this is the nicest part of England I've ever been in, which went down like he didn't realise that he was in Wales, which was a separate country. So we would have offered him, I guess, a map of England and Wales, a touring guide. Another map I have here in my map case, which is this thing here, is of somewhere called Normandy and Omaha Beach. Now the 5,000 soldiers that arrived, men of the 9th Infantry Regiment, and that's the insignia I'm wearing, and this is the colonel would have been up on Port Road, in charge of these 5,000 men. Yes, they were going to Normandy. They were going to somewhere called Omaha Beach. So they weren't here on vacation, as I said. And they weren't landing on D-Day, they were landing on D+1, D+2, D+3. That's the 8th, the 9th, the 10th of June, which is about, you know, it's anniversary time. On June the 4th, 1944, thousands of American soldiers would have been at anchor in Barry Roads. Now, those of you who know what I'm talking about, anybody know what Barry Roads is? You've already seen, it's out in the channel, right opposite here. They would have been out there in Liberty ships and other coasters at anchor, waiting for the orders to sail down the Bristol Channel, around Land's End, up the English Channel, turn right at the Isle of Wight, head straight ahead, and then make a right toward, no, go straight on for Omaha. Other people made a right to the other beach. Anybody know the name of the other beach? Utah Beach, anyway. Okay, so they were over here, they were in Barry, that's why I wear this uniform.